Now we're going to do an overview of the United States model 1866 50-70 caliber short rifle, generally called by collectors the second Allin conversion. What these rifles are, there were two Allin conversions. The first Allin conversion was a 58 caliber rimfire, and this is the second Allin conversion that they started using the 50-70 cartridge in. What they were is, at the end of the Civil War, the United States had a stockpile of percussion muskets. Knowing that cartridge rifles were the thing to go, they decided to take their stockpiles and convert them into cartridge guns, stockpiles of percussion muskets, and use the supplies on hand to make cartridge rifles. This saved money, because in doing all the math, it still was cheaper to convert these guns than it was to manufacture a totally new weapon. So this is where the trapdoors got their start. This is the second model. The first model, they didn't bore out and sleeve the barrels to 50 caliber. They left them 58 and adapted a rimfire cartridge of 58 caliber. Also, the action is a bit different on the first conversion. This is a bit of an improvement. And what the conversion consisted of, and we'll stick with the second one because this is what we got. We don't have a first. They're pretty rare. They took the percussion musket, removed the hammer. This is where the drum and nipple were. They milled out a portion of the back of the barrel and then dropped down breech mechanism, and what they did is silver soldered and screwed this breech mechanism into the back of a musket, and that's where your drum and nipple went in for the percussion cap. And so basically that was a conversion. The first ones, they just tried making a cartridge in 58 caliber, which was unsatisfactory. So they decided to bore out these barrels. This was actually a 58 caliber musket at one time. Bore out these barrels and then re-sleeve them to 50 caliber down here. Now this gun itself is a variation of the second Allin conversion, and that is a short rifle. It is 4 inches shorter. Now there's a controversy as to whether or not this is an official rifle, something the government made from damaged guns, or something that was made up from surplus dealers after these guns were sold on the market. How we know it's a short rifle is it's only got 2 barrel bands instead of 3. The barrel is 4 inches shorter, and as they tell you, if you look at the stock, try to get it where I can, there it is. You can see where, when this gun, this is where the middle barrel band retaining spring has been filled in when we would be here. And what they did is they just cut this barrel, and then the stock was cut down 4 more inches, and this just moved down. And this is replacement rod. It's not threaded on the end, it's stuck in there. But that's how we know this is the short rifle. Now the Allin conversion used this musket sight, which was reversed. In the musket, it would go the other way on the barrel. And when you turn it around, it is marked. The lower hole has 3 for 300 yards, the middle one 5 for 500, and notched the top is 700 yards. That's how those sights, pretty basic, pretty simple. Now how this differs from the later trapdoors is the shape of the breech is a little different. The thumb latch also, the shape is different. It still uses the black powder lock plate, which that went on to the 1868s and 1870 models. It wasn't until the 1873s they stopped using these thicker plates and manufactured a plate for the gun itself. Also, on this earlier gun, there's some features that are a little bit different. Is the firing pin is retained by a slotted screw that holds the back of that firing pin in there. And that's actually threaded up in here. Where on the later models, underneath this is a screw that goes through and holds a notch where the firing pin is. Also, if you notice, of course, this latch, this is a later one, is attached the same way with a little screw. There's a latch and a spring behind it, so that's kind of like the later models. Not exactly, but the same type of system of mounting. And if you notice, this bolt is round, or the breech is round here. It's not got an arch or a lightning cut or anything into it. And you will find on the Cadet and some other guns later modified, they take cuts in here, lightning cuts, so it'll be little milled out sections. So there's 3 or 4 different variations. They were constantly modifying these guns. Also, what's noticeable on this knuckle here, there is no sight notch, which you'll find on the later guns. There's a little notch in there so you can use the sight. That isn't here. And also, if you look, there's this little tab right there where the tip of my finger is. That's something that's unique to the Allins, and you won't find on the others. And also, if you look, there's the Eagle and 1866 on the breech bolt. And what that little tab is when you flip this out here, we'll take a look down in here. You can see it's the extractor, right where the tip of my finger is. What that does is when this bolt, this breech rotates, it grabs the edge of the case and pulls it out. They had extraction problems with the first conversion, and this was an attempt, and this extraction system is unique to this gun. Let me get a better angle and we'll get a case and I'll show you how it works. Okay, as we mentioned, there's our extractor here. Down on the bottom, down in here, is what's called the friction spring. And that's an apparatus, once we take this apart, we'll look at it from the bottom. And I don't know if you can see it or not, but right down where the tip of that is, can't, there's the ejector spring. And this is another thing that goes underneath, and you have to look at when we take the gun apart. Alright, so we're going to take a case, we're going to place it in the chamber, and then we're going to close the breech. Okay, now when you open this up, and we're going to have to, hold on a second. Okay, now we got a little bit better angle. Now when we open this up, you look down in there, there's your friction spring holding that. Now the extractor's on the other side of the bolt and the spring is behind it. Now what's nice about this, what that friction spring does is hold that case, and there's a spring on the left side there, it's got it under tension. Until that extractor pushes it over that friction spring, and then out it comes. There's the extractor. And that's where that little spring is. You can barely see that tip of that little spring in there. Now that's the ejection system that is unique to the second model Allin conversion. Okay, so that's about it for our overview. Basically, it's got the standard butt stock and all the other stuff, and the trigger guard, which is kind of a musket trigger guard. They use those for a while. But that's about it for our overview on this gun.